Hello, I'm Scott Hackworth, and I'm back with this quarter's industry weather report for the Pools and Hot Tubs Alliance. As usual, I'm here to provide the latest insights and findings that are impacting builders, service and maintenance professionals, and retailers in your industry. So let's dive right into the key findings. New this quarter, we began gauging the overall sentiment about the state of the industry. What the findings tell us is that retailers are showing a little bit of more negative sentiment toward the current state of the industry than the other groups. Service and maintenance professionals have a lot more optimism about where things are currently, and builders are somewhere right in between. We continue to assess the top challenges that businesses are facing. What we see is that economic factors such as inflation, consumer spending, maintaining profits, and recruiting and retaining skilled employees remain the top three, and in that order. And that has been very consistent over the past several quarters. However, what we can continue to see is that recruiting and retaining skilled employees continues to fall in terms of its importance as a key challenge to businesses. So we are seeing some softening there, which aligns with what we're seeing from an economics perspective as well. So let's look at the economic conditions. Real GDP was down 0.2% this quarter, and most of that is attributed to the fact that we imported so much ahead of all of the tariffs news and the tariff fears that were circulating. And so, in fact, imports were up 40% versus a year earlier. Offset and the way that real GDP is calculated really brought down the GDP number. In addition, government spending was down considerably. So those two factors caused GDP to fall 0.2%, and we do expect it to rebound somewhat in the next quarter. So it's really going to be interesting to watch what happens in the next several quarters. Housing starts have been mostly disappointing this year. They've been coming in lower than expected, and showing that the housing market continues to be very soft. Multi-family units are up versus last year, though last year was very much down for those. So we are seeing a little bit there, but overall, and especially with permits being down as well, we are seeing a very, very soft housing market yet again here in 2025. And inflation. The inflation number came in at 2.4%, and that was slightly up from 2.3% and was very surprising. That was a really good sign that we were seeing compared to what we expected, given, again, the inefficiencies and the tariff information that was being caused. And so when we have pricing inefficiencies and concerns and a little bit of just not knowing what's going to be coming next, a lot of times pricing gets adjusted. And so we are surprised that that did not happen as much as we were expecting. So we'll continue to watch what happens with inflation as those tariffs come into effect. And unemployment rate remains low, 4.2%, and remains at a very tight level, although it's really the sectors that are adding jobs are hospitality and leisure and healthcare. And outside of those, they're seeing a lot more softening than we saw a couple years ago. And that plays well into the fact that right now there's one job opening per unemployed person. 2 years ago, we were at 2 jobs for every one person. A lot of those jobs have been removed, taken off the table. And so the labor market is shifting quite a bit. So now let's look more at industry-specific data. Looking at new pool sales in the past quarter, we see that it was very, very slightly up. And so largely flat, very slightly up. And what we can really see is that the blue, so those who experienced a decrease, increased a little bit, but also those who experienced an increase grew as well. So we are seeing that those two are, in fact, those who had no difference versus the prior year is now a very small sliver. So we are seeing within the industry, some are having some different experiences. Anecdotally, we did hear from you that some of you had the year start out great. So January was solid, early February, and then some of the tariffs news happened, and which really slowed things down with the uncertainty about the economy. So again, we'll continue to see how things fare out in quarter two. Remodel sales continues to be relatively robust and continues to grow. We see a lot more orange than there is blue. And so even though some of the momentum fell just a little bit, it continues to be a strong sales point for builders. And portable hot tub swim spas have lost momentum, and we are seeing that the decreases were more likely than the increases this past quarter. And so we have seen some fall off there after a little bit of a resurgence during 2024. And so we'll continue to watch that, see if that starts coming back. We do know that there's some hold off, again, the economy and some of the uncertainty and some of the financing issues are keeping some on the sidelines. So we'll continue to watch how things play over the next several quarters. Looking at sales expectations within the sectors, the builders and remodelers, 2/3 of them are expecting that the next 12 months will bring growth. So they are expecting to grow, and generally that's going to be pretty modest of 1 to 5%. Service providers continue to be very bullish. 75% of them expect growth, although a little more modest than they've been expecting in past quarters. And so right now, the typical respondent is looking at about 1 to 5% growth. And retailers are somewhat less optimistic. And what we can really see there is that a larger portion is in the blue. So they expect a decrease in the next 12 months. So wrapping up, builders, they saw some growth in the quarter. Very modest, and their expectations are still pretty good about the year ahead. Service and repair companies continue to be optimistic about what's coming. They have continued to see some profit growth as well as revenue growth, and the vast majority expect continued growth over the next 12 months. Retailers were much more mixed, much more likely to expect some decline in the next 12 months, and the hot tub sales slid more than they had in recent quarters. And so we'll continue to watch that, see if that rebounds, hopefully, as the year proceeds. And there is a little bit of cautious optimism in the group where 57% still expect some growth over the next year. So I want to thank you for watching this quarter's weather report. And as always, you can find much more detailed research and insights through the PHTA Resource Center at phta.org. I also want to let you know about a new market intelligence report that's coming out soon. And that's going to be an online site that's going to have current trends and current information for you that's most affecting the industry. And that's on its way. We are working with PHTA to deliver that soon. And until next time, I hope the rest of your quarter goes well, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.